Yeah, yeah, sure.
Good. And we are rolling.
Okay. So we've started the program. We've got the hot liquor tank full of water, and it's heating up. And I'm just going to describe a little bit about what's going to happen next and what to watch for when you're just kind of waiting for this to happen. So the next step is called grain in. So mash in and grain in. So mash in is going to open up a valve here, and it's going to allow a certain amount of water to fall into the mashed liquor tank. So the way it knows how much water is going in here was a setting. It was the grain ratio, grain to weight ratio in the program settings from earlier. So it's 1 to 0.25, 1 to 1.25. So for every 1 pound of grain, there's 1.2 quarts of water. So the program knows how much water it's going to put in here because it will see how full this is to start, and it will let a certain amount of water come out until it reaches a set point, and then it will stop the valve and water will stop flowing into here. It's at this point that you want to add the grain. You can add it, it's up to you, you can add it while the water's coming in or after it's in. It doesn't really matter. But just make sure that you have this kind of out of the way when you pour it, because this you want to station on top of the grains, and we'll show a picture of that later. You just kind of want to set this up so that it lays a little bit flat right above wherever the grain bed is. We're doing a pretty big batch, so you might want to move it up, way up. But once the grain is in there, it'll lay pretty fat, and once the lid is on, it'll lay pretty flat, and that's it for this step. You want to see water just, you want this kind of to be just on the surface of the grain bed, and you want to see a small flow of water coming through here. So to regulate the flow of water when it's coming through here, you want to use this valve. I like to start off with it relatively well open. This is open when the water first comes in. But then after the grain is in, after you've got this adjusted to where you want it, you're going to hit the continue button over here, the black button. You're going to hit it once. It's basically going to say grain in right there. Do you want to continue? And you'll hit the continue button once, and that's going to start water recirculating in here. And you want to just turn this down a little bit so the recirculation is a little bit slower. Because if you recirculate it at full blast, that grain bed is going to get smushed together. It's going to get sucked down on top of the screen right here. So you want to turn it down so the water is just kind of very lightly flowing out, and we'll show a picture of that in a minute. So it's going to go through some stages here. At the end of this stage is the mash out. Mash out usually should take about 10 minutes. If you get 10 minutes through the mash out and it seems like you're hovering right there at about 168 degrees, 169 degrees, but it's already been 10 minutes, just go ahead and start your sparge out. You don't have to wait, until the machine is quite done. Sometimes it'll kind of hover a little bit right there at the 169 mark, because the hot liquor tank is only at about 175, and you're trying to get this to 170, so the differential isn't very much. So it might just stick there at like 169 for an extra few minutes. But if you're watching it, just hit continue. It's ready. You can let it go. We can work out the bugs with that some other time, but it should be fine that way. And we'll probably take a little bit more video after we have some grain in here since I'm going to be here now, and we'll chop all of this so you can stop.